Hello everyone, it's Gino. So, I didn't really want to make this video, but there are always those kinds of people. For those unaware, Death Battle's next matchup is Cell versus Metal Sonic, and many, if not everyone, on the internet seem to agree that Metal Sonic completely annihilates Cell. Except, which I don't necessarily disagree with. I mean, the Sonic verse has higher dimensional scaling. While Dragon Ball has these higher dimensional spaces, we don't really see them until Super. Meanwhile, Sonic and his cast have been fighting higher dimensional beings like fucking Solaris since 06, so it's more or less safe to assume Metal wins. Now, the problem I have is how they completely downplay Cell. Like, Cell isn't even solar system level, and people act like he was just hyping himself up. And it's the Neanderthal, it's just a statement argument I've been seeing on Twitter. Basically utterly downplaying Cell to planetary, while hyper-gigawanking Metal to outer versal, which, obviously, I am going to have a problem with. And with the things I am going to say in this video, Cell vs. Metal Sonic is a lot closer than you think. If you like this type of stuff, subscribe. It's free, and you can always change your mind. Unlike Cell, Metal needs this win for redemption, and beating the fraud allegations, as some may put it. He's the worst written character in the Sonic franchise and a jobber who loses every fucking time. As he lost to a fucking motorcycle, and Dragon Ball fans saying Cell just needs a motorcycle to defeat Metal. As silly as it may be. And most importantly, needs this win from Death Battle to escape slander. So sit back and enjoy this perfect analysis. To get into Cell, let's get into what he is like normally first. And then from there we can sort of like speculate further increases. Goku versus Demon King Piccolo. Goku versus Vegeta, where Goku trains with King Kai and masters many techniques to try to save the planet. From the Spoiled Prince blowing it the fuck up. Goku versus Frieza. A battle against the strongest being in the universe, who was gonna, like, decide the fate of every living being in it. Period. All of those fights and fighters are then combined by a super genius that can make brats stronger than Super Saiyans, into a hyper-sophisticated super warrior known as Cell, with the fighting abilities of King Cold, Frieza, Saiyan Saga Goku, Vegeta, and the Demon King Piccolo times a billion. As well as enhanced techniques of others, such as Tien Shinhan's multiform Tri-Beam, and so on. Cell was really the best we've pretty much ever seen, except maybe Vegito and other characters later. Even with his defeat at the hands of Gohan, which was due to Gohan's insane potential and training spiking after working on it the whole series, he was truly perfect. Most people sort of scale Cell to solar system level via the statements in the manga and the anime. Let me tell you, till this day, many still disagree that Cell could actually destroy the solar system, and would just cap Dragon Ball at that planetary plus plus plus. So, I'm going to be going over why Cell is just objectively solar system level. Not only is Cell blatantly stated to be able to destroy the solar system in multiple guides, even the official Toei website agrees with this. To say Cell was just hyping himself up or lying is straight up disingenuous, and just proves you didn't read shit at all. Let's get into why that isn't the case. Cell isn't the type to overestimate himself. He actually, usually, underestimates the enemy. He was not lying when he said that Vegeta couldn't defeat him in his second form, with the androids sorta agreeing with Cell that Vegeta had, like, no chance. But Cell does bluff and lie sometimes. To deny that is ridiculous. But why does he lie? Is he just an arrogant liar? Most likely not. He has only lied to get the androids and become perfect. This is stressed multiple times. Also, he will only give out name calls and bluffs when he knows he is screwed. Compared to Vegeta, he is pretty respectful to equal opponents. And when he tried to get Gohan to Super Saiyan 2, was that just pure arrogance? It was partly arrogance, but even Cell realized Gohan had more potential. Again, he just believed that level of potential wasn't enough. He was underestimating Gohan's full potential. He wanted fun, and he once again underestimated the Z Fighters, and did not overestimate himself. Once he had Gohan injured, he had no use for him anymore. Gohan was mentally broken also, so Cell would not try to keep him alive. Cell had no more use for this planet, or the entire solar system. Cell is just that type of person. He gets rid of it at this point. I don't want this to be a Cell-only video, but I thought I needed to touch that part because of the down players. So, Cell is pretty objectively solar system level, at the very least. Next are the high ends. Cell is stated, twice, to be capable of destroying the entire universe, with the first instance being originally from the manga and the second being the anime original. How it differs is that these statements are reiterated and confirmed to be correct, rather than being hyperbolic claims, or the characters in question not being knowledgeable enough to make the claim. Obviously, because it was confirmed by Toei's Dragon Ball Z Kai website verbatim. As Android 16 in the anime and manga states this, as well as Elder Mori, all the way in New Namek. For reference, New Namek is so far off into the universe that Goku can't use instant transmission easily to get there, probably just because their key signatures are pretty weak. The fact that they could sense Cell's ki all the way there means Cell could just obliterate the universe. After reaching his perfect form, Cell was stated by the narrator to have infinity battle power, and was stated by Piccolo to shake the entire universe, which is insane since the universe is infinite in size. With all these statements and feats, you would think maybe everyone sorta agrees Cell is universal. It's Dragon Ball down, players, man. Moving on. While holding back, he manhandled full-power Super Saiyan Goku in their warm-up session, whose base form is capable of fighting and harming restrained Super Saiyan Broly in the movies. I'll get back to why I'm using this. Who can nuke an entire quadrant of the universe, which has countless to infinite galaxies, as well as be stated to be a threat to the entire universe multiple times, even more than Cell himself. And Cell, at full power, just sorta dwarfs this level of power, putting him around that high universe levels of power, with infinite speed. A lot of people sorta disagree with Universal Cell because at full power he could only destroy the solar system. But the problem is, the people who say this have just never watched the show. Well, the first question is, why was Cell charging up ki? Well, he was doing so to overpower Gohan and destroy the solar system. Not that that's his only power. It's a recurring thing in the series. As in the Buu saga, Kid Buu launches an attack at the Earth, with Goku stating that the attack was going to destroy the entire planet, but Vegeta was able to stop it, really easily, with Vegeta being cocky. Then Buu charges an even bigger and more powerful attack than before, and Goku couldn't stop it. But the attack was aimed at destroying the planet, so is Buu Saga Goku just planet level? Which of course would still contradict their solar system level scale for Cell, which they try to argue. Cell was going to travel the universe and fight other people after nuking the Z Fighters. So that's sorta why he was charging up. When scaling Cell, this is where most people kinda stop, for some reason. What if I told you it could go higher? What if I told you Cell is still stronger? Now, before I move on, before a couple of Sonic fanboys start yapping about why I'm using non-canon stuff to wank Cell, I'm using this because Death Battle did too. As seen with Omni-Man vs. Bardock, they brought in Super Saiyan Bardock, which isn't even remotely canon, but still used it. They used Toei filler and all that. Even as I was editing this video, they included movie villains in their preview for Cell multiple times. So it's not a stretch to say they wouldn't use it, as long as it isn't Heroes. I don't want no Heroes and Archie bullshit here. Cell comes back in GT as a villain in the Super 17 arc, where Goku is trapped in Hell and has to fight Cell and Frieza after training for more than a decade and seeing Goku's previous fights against Buu, Janemba, and others in the first and second arcs in GT, with both of them somewhat confident they could take Goku on. I kid you not, this Goku would be so strong in just his base form, it's not even funny. With this Goku being casually stronger, if not well above Buuhan, who could destroy the entire universe with his Vice Shout. A lot of people try to downplay this feat by saying it's via a chain reaction, or He just destroys the barriers holding apart these universes, which, obviously, I just wanted to clarify, this isn't some hack's ability that wouldn't scale to his AP. It's pretty much hammered on to be Buuhan's power multiple times, with Vegito telling Buuhan to use that power to try to defeat him. The wall between dimensions that Buu's tantrums affect is literally just the fabric of space-time itself. An analogy that would probably help visualize this a bit better would be that the different planes of existence are just like different rooms that stand side by side with each other, while the walls that separate them, and which they all share, are the structure of space-time. Tear a hole through one of the walls, and you can now see the room next door, maybe even enter it through said hole. Remove the walls entirely, and all of these rooms are now the same room. This makes Buuhan, Super Saiyan Vegito, and the Buu Saga top tier's low multiversal. The universe in Dragon Ball has 3 separate space-time continuums, with each being the size of a universe. And base GT Goku far eclipses these levels of power, and with the chain scaling of GT, at the time he fights Cell, he would be Buuhan level times 1 billion. I'm not even kidding, it's that crazy. Not to mention, Cell wasn't in his super perfect form, which is like a Super Saiyan 2 amp on top of that, putting him at billions of times multiversal tier pretty easily. And I'm pretty sure, despite higher dimensional scaling in Sonic Death Battle, as seen with Bowser vs. Eggman, will downplay Metal Sonic to multiversal also, like they did with Eggman. In my honest opinion, that may just slightly give strength to Metal. Though Cell can use Zenkai boosts and his accelerated development to close the gap in strength, so the strength may be equal, or at least slightly in Metal's favor. Metal Sonic is Sonic the Hedgehog's robotic doppelganger, and he is said to be the world's greatest bad Nick, created by Dr. Eggman. He is said to have the speed and abilities of Sonic, and, till this day, is Sonic's strongest rival. Ever since he appeared in Sonic CD, scaling Metal Sonic is pretty straightforward, as he was created by Eggman to match classic Sonic in every regard. Regularly upgraded to avoid becoming outdated, with classic Sonic being able to break the chains that were holding back Little Planet, which has been calculated to Brown Dwarf star level, with Sonic even being stronger than the Death Egg, which can wipe out entire stars while being powered by just 1 Chaos Emerald. Metal Sonic can keep up with Adventure Sonic in Sonic Adventure 2, who is superior to his classic self, as he repeatedly defeated Chaos after he absorbed up to 4 Chaos Emeralds. The energy produced from one alone could move planetary fragments, or split the entire planet, which is around that solar system level of power. Metal Sonic still remains a consistent rival of modern Sonic, and can fight him evenly during Sonic Rivals, after Sonic had defeated the Babylon Guardian. The Babylon Guardian was capable of reshaping the entirety of its digital dimension into a hellscape, which is stated to extend into infinite nothingness. Basically, high universe level. Metal Sonic enters into that low multiversal tier, as he was capable of damaging modern Sonic in extreme gear races during Sonic Freeriders, after Sonic had overcome the power of Eraser Jin. Eraser Jin completely destroyed the space-time of the Arabian Nights reality, just by existing, and planned to recreate it in his image. The Arabian Nights reality contains 2 infinite space-time continuums, or essentially 2 universes. A little detour here, but I tend to notice people try to upscale the Arabian Nights by claiming that each story, of which there are about 1,000, is its own separate universe, upscaling this feat to multiversal. However, Tails is able to direct Sonic to the main castle from a story, which alone strongly disproves this, as there's no proof these stories are universes of their own making. Sonic, and by proxy Metal Sonic, are essentially 2 universes into low multiversal, which is still weaker than Buu Saga Buuhan in retrospect. Metal Sonic, in the IDW comics, overpowered modern Sonic after copying his biodata. He got even stronger with chaos energy from the emeralds that Dr. Eggman gave him, allowing Neo Metal to reach his peak form, a state requiring even a Super Sonic to just match his power. Which is completely insane. Metal Sonic then uses the Master Emerald to transform into Super Neo Metal Sonic, and utterly no-diffed both Sonic and Knuckles at the same time, with Shadow just jumping off guard. the Master Emerald is stronger than the Chaos Emeralds because it can cancel and negate their effects, which Knuckles even states himself in the games. Meaning, in a hypothetical scenario, Super Sonic versus Super Neo Metal Sonic, it would be no difference in Metal's favor. Metal Sonic is stated multiple times to be Eggman's greatest creation, to rival and defeat Sonic. With that comes an identity crisis, wanting to replace Sonic and be the real perfect Sonic. Keep that in mind. Metal betrayed Eggman, and now controls the entire army. After combining his data with the power of Chaos, even Eggman believed him to be unbeatable by anything he could plan, including the Chaos Emeralds. And the Chaos Emeralds are no joke. One emerald can shift continents. All 7 together can warp the entire multiverse. After being completed, it took the combined might of Super Sonic, Super Tails, and Super Knuckles to defeat him. Super Sonic alone was unable to damage Metal Overlord, to the point that Eggman described Sonic's solo attacks as useless. Teams Dark, Rose, and Chaotix needed to buy time for Team Sonic to charge up with the Emeralds, which is very rare, even among bosses fought in their super forms. Chaos Energy gives Thoughts power, with Eggman's best machines able to run indefinitely, while matching the greatest power in existence. As such, Metal Overlord scales to the highest echelon of superform power, which far eclipses terrifying bosses like the Time Eater, who destroyed space-time on a scale encompassing all of reality and all of space-time, which encompasses an infinite multiverse and higher dimensional spaces like the Marginary World and cyberspace. Even granted Solaris' power, which required 3 supers to put down, and even empowered beings like the 4 Titans created by the Ancients, like the End, who wanted to consume all. Modern Sonic was confident he had to save everyone everywhere from it, as he also stated it to be infinite compared to all of Sonic's past villains, which would include the likes of Solaris, due to Sonic remembering the events of 06. On a side note, his monologue is pretty sweet, and Metal Sonic is stronger than all of them, making Metal Sonic effectively a 6th dimensional being, meaning he'd just completely obliterate Cell. While Metal isn't beating the jobber allegations of always losing in the most disgraceful way possible, and looking back, I think the OVA was a good introduction to his character, showcasing the best parts of him, his abilities to match Sonic, and also the philosophical debate between the real and fake, as that one time after losing to Sonic, he protects the 2 people Sonic really cared about, right before powering down. Maybe he isn't the mindless, soulless Metal copy after all. Which is nice to think about. Do I think Death Battle would add higher dimensional scaling for Metal? I don't think so, mainly because of where they had Eggman in the Eggman vs. Bowser match. They had him at multiversal tier. So take that with a grain of salt. That Metal is multiversal by Death Battle standards. For speed, it's a lot closer than most people think. Sonic can outrun black holes, moving about 100 times faster than light, with high ends pushing him and Metal far into billions of times faster than light. However, Cell would scale off Goku in the Namek Saga, who could dodge and react to asteroids while moving at billions of times the speed of light. And this was just with a power level of 90,000. Even before he goes Super Saiyan, Goku reaches a power level of 150 million, with Cell being thousands of times faster than that, getting Cell into the quadrillions to quintillions of times faster than light. The Sonic cast, however, just has blatant, infinite, and immeasurable speed feats. Sonic casually crosses infinite distances, and both classic and modern Sonic are able to restore all of time and space, after all of time and space was destroyed, using pure speed alone. Metal Sonic scales off of that. When it comes to Cell, they cap him at only infinite speed, via being able to destroy an infinitely sized universe, and him being faster than Goku and Piccolo, who traversed the infinite afterlife in base form, granting Cell infinite speed. However, it goes higher, Via the movie scaling, Goku and Metal Cooler were able to fight inside the instant transmission realm. Instant transmission is a dimension hop, allowing users to pass through a space that transcends time itself. Goku and Metal Cooler were able to fight within this space, making their movement speed immeasurable. Death Battle recognized this same feat as immeasurable speed in the Goku vs. Superman video. Quantifiably, Metal Sonic is faster, but both are immeasurable. So it's safe to call this part a draw. Now, this is the part of the video where I give my thoughts on their abilities and who has the edge. Some people argue that Cell can just absorb Metal, which Cell absolutely cannot do. On a side note, most people think Cell needs to physically swallow Metal Sonic to absorb him. However, people tend to forget Cell doesn't need to. He can just stick to people instead. Now, can Cell absorb Metal's data? No. Why, you may ask? Because Metal is purely metallic and isn't biological. As seen in the Cell saga, Cell couldn't absorb Android 16 because he wasn't biological, and he was a robot, which Metal Sonic essentially is. What further solidifies this is the fact that Metal could put his hands in the Metal virus with no effect at all, meaning Cell can't absorb Metal at all, while Metal can copy Cell, giving Metal Sonic the edge. Now, to answer the most glaring question, can Metal Sonic just copy Key with Copycat? A lot of people try to justify this by pointing out Metal being able to copy Shadow Time Stop, Silver's Psychokinesis, and possibly even Blaze's abilities with the Soul Emeralds. Well, it's complicated, and I'm inclined not to agree. The reason being, when Metal copies biodata and uses their abilities, he simply just copies the technique, without using the energy source. As seen with him using Chaos Control, he learned it from Shadow, without needing Chaos Energy, which is important, because Metal Sonic repeatedly relies on being powered by the Chaos Emeralds and Master Emeralds to transform. That wouldn't be the case if he could just copy the biodata of a Super, and use the energy of Chaos or others without these emeralds. Sure, Metal can copy the Kamehameha and other techniques, but Ki itself is iffy. And honestly, it wouldn't even be that relevant. Cell with Goku cells. Just by seeing a technique being done once, or even just hearing about a technique, Cell can instantly replicate it and be resistant to it, although it's limited to just Ki. Unlike Metal, who is more versatile, copying Ki isn't a clear win for Metal. Metal Sonic can simply copy Cell's biodata, essentially meaning Cell would be fighting himself, and a stronger version too. However, with accelerated development, reactive evolution, and empowerment from his Saiyan DNA, Cell could eventually square up, although this is a stretch. Being as smart as Eggman, Metal's battle IQ isn't nearly as good as Cell's. Despite being stronger, Metal has lost multiple times due to dumb mistakes, while Cell is obviously the smarter and better fighter. So if Metal can't defeat Cell quickly, he may actually lose. Which leads us to the final part, regeneration. Most people overrate Cell's regeneration. As the only thing he has, Metal can regenerate after being liquefied. Cell's regeneration is slightly better, because it's just cells. Metal Sonic should have zero problem dealing with that. However, there's something most people don't know about Cell's regeneration that's even more broken, and in my honest opinion, might actually give him the win. In Dragon Ball GT, Cell returns in the Super 17 arc. Wait, hold on. Is this the right script? Oh right. Goku tries killing Cell, which he successfully does. However, Cell comes back to life, stating he was immortal, due to being technically already dead. Deceased characters are already dead. They live forever, and will always regenerate completely, even if their body is obliterated. Or some sort of low, godly regeneration, which Metal Sonic has no realistic counter to effectively. Meaning Cell would just catch up and maybe even surpass Metal Sonic, as ridiculous as it may seem. Meaning, if Metal can't kill Cell, Cell would get millions of Zenkai boosts to surpass Metal Sonic, and learn and gain resistances to everything Metal throws at him. As stated by Goku, once his body receives an attack or technique, it does not work again. Slowly, but surely, this reduces Metal's options. The only win condition being his maximum overdrive. However, Cell can just go Super Perfect Form, which is like a Super Saiyan 2 multiplier, which is a 50 times boost or 25 times boost greater than Metal Sonic. I am just yapping as a Dragon Ball fan. Metal wins, honestly. But it would be really fucking funny if Cell wins on Sunday. Please. Well, that's all from me. Don't forget to join the Discord and follow the TikTok. All links for those will be in the description. Well, peace.